Story 1. To price everything so high that a normal family will always just be able to get by and never move up.
But those families need to get better paying jobs.
There's no middle class. It's billionaire pedophiles against everyone else. And they're winning.
The irony being that a revolution is too damn expensive.
Story 2. Misinformation from social media. Not just pseudoscience, but blatantly wrong stuff. People are getting brainwashed into believing the dumbest shit.
I know someone who loses it over chemtrails. I tried to explain that a condensation, but nope. They think they're spraying the air to stop the rain. Then they check the weather report and say the rain was stolen by the governor. I just can't.
I'm gonna run with it and on it. Literally. I'm gonna run for office, and then once elected, I'll do the opposite of my Associated Party platform. When they call me out, I'll say that they're wrong and gaslight them. Why did you vote yes?
voted nay.
That's not what the record says.
Wrong.
You'd know this if you were worth a shit. All the best people know I vote with my party, and my votes are the best votes.
Some truly dangerous bullshit gets shared online all the time. It's kind of disturbing. Look up fat activists on TikTok, and you'll see thousands of people sharing the message that you could be healthy at any size and spreading lies about health and fitness. Mind you, they seem to understand that being underweight is a health problem, but they absolutely refuse to believe that being overweight, obese, or super morbidly obese has any side effects. And their followers lap it all up.
Story 3. Focusing on culture wars that have been designed to distract everyone from the real war, which is the class war.
Honestly, I hate this empty platitude. Conservatism's core founding principle is the belief that society must be built upon strict hierarchies in order to function. This is why the right is often more religious than the left, as churches operate under strict hierarchical systems that fall under the rule of their God. It's also why they trend toward bigoted beliefs, whether in the form of men over women, whites over blacks, and so on, and why they take great offense to those who blur the lines of their preconceived hierarchies, such as gays who have no defined man-woman position within the household, and especially trans individuals who defy their predefined gendered societal position. But you want to know the oldest, most sacred hierarchy? Kings over peasants, lords over serfs, rich over poor, haves over have-nots. It fundamentally does not matter that our true enemies are the wealthy elite who manipulate society. Conservatives throughout history, including today's MAGA chumps, are the willing foot soldiers of the upper class against all those who would seek to topple their position of power and influence. Saying it's not left versus right, it's lower class versus upper class, is as functionally meaningless a distinction as saying it's not about renewable energy versus fossil fuels. It's all of us versus climate change.
I get the people who are opposed to illegal immigration. I don't often agree with them, but I understand the impulse that we should enforce immigration laws. However, I absolutely will not entertain any argument from them about how it's the marginalized, powerless immigrants who need to be punished, and not the companies that illegally hire and exploit them for cheap labor.
I keep saying this to anyone who will listen. The richest people in the United States are convincing us to fight about halftime shows and less than 1% of the population when we should be eating the rich.
Story 4. Honestly, rage bait everywhere. Feels like half the internet is people saying the dumbest thing possible just to farm clicks and arguments. Kind of messes with your mood without you noticing. 2. I've started muting stuff more, and it actually makes scrolling way nicer. Not everything needs a hot take.
I used to love Instagram Reels, but now the meanest bot comments are always second from the top. It's getting as bad as Twitter at this point.
Story 5. Honestly, shoving AI into everything, I think, is a problem. I don't even hate AI stuff. I just think in a lot of situations it's not really needed or shouldn't be there. There are a lot of use cases where it's very good, but every company thinks add AI to the product, more money. One of the worst things I can think of was Microsoft's original product called Recall. It literally recorded all your activity so the AI could reference what you did. It sounds okay until you consider it's monitoring all your documents, logins, bank info, whatever, and storing that. Basically, stuff you probably don't want to share with bad actors lived in your computer's memory perpetually. They can encrypt it, but it's still a huge risk. At companies, they push AI processes to try and cut staff, ending up with questionable outcomes depending on the application. Story 6. A shocking lack of empathy. It's brutal in action, and it's ruining this country. Families are torn apart, misinformation runs rampant, but the lack of ability to see from another's perspective is horrible. Story 7. Protein. Protein in everything. It's not like it didn't exist in the product before, but they're over-marketing protein in sugary cereals, sugary yogurts, and whatever else where it exists in the most unhealthy way possible.
This kills me. I'm in the process of losing a significant amount of weight, and I'm trying to ramp up my intake of collagen, gelatin, protein in general, vitamin A, etc., to help mitigate loose skin as much as possible, as well as lots of strength training, hydration, topical treatments, and so on. I'm grateful that people are more aware of calorie sources now. Thank goodness fat-free isn't the trend anymore, now that we know about healthy fats. But the way the word protein gets slapped on every label is driving me nuts. If something has 300 calories and 2 grams of protein, they have no business trying to market that as protein-rich.
Story 8. Tax the rich, please. Why do billionaires who have so much that they couldn't spend it all even if they tried get tax breaks? Story 9. Government gaslighting on an industrial scale, but I guess that's never really gone out of style. Story 10. Extreme mass surveillance, how easy, fast, and complete it has become. And this, in combination with the rise of aggressive authoritarian and fascist governments all over the world. The repercussions are and will be devastating.
It's always been a thing. Phone tapping was already a thing back in 1920.
Story 11. Women trying to look like Kim Kardashian with those eyebrows, fake tans, Botox injections in their lips, and so on, and talking in that excruciating vocal fry voice. Story 12. It really feels like being so racist that you're willing to destroy the country over it. Story 13. Everything is being optimized for engagement instead of usefulness. Products, news, apps, even conversations, they're all just rage bait with no substance. Story 14. Social media dependence. That shit is bad for us, and almost no one wants to take it seriously. It's always just, haha. Yeah, I'm so addicted to TikTok. Story 15. The absolute flood of artificial intelligence slop everywhere. It's not just the weird AI art or the deepfakes. It's the fact that every search result is an AI-generated article that takes 500 words to say nothing. And every social media feed is filled with creators who just prompt a bot to make a video. We've reached a point where the internet feels like it's just one giant machine talking to another giant machine. And the human part of the internet is getting harder and harder to find. It's making everything feel hollow and synthetic. Story 16. People who self-diagnose themselves with complex mental disorders or mental illnesses. Story 17. Younger generations are becoming anti-government because they've never seen a government work for them.
Because we see it's not working for the majority of people, which it should do at minimum. Because we see that they don't care about any of us, just the oligarchs that puppeteer them. The government gets all the criticism it deserves. The older ones who were helped by the system 50 and 20 years ago think that it's the same and just as easy today. They also think it's just immigrants taking our government benefits, and so on. Those people are crazy and way too devoted to an entity that doesn't care about them either.
Story 18. Politicizing every single thing that's possible. Media, art, music, everything. Families destroyed because of it. Especially U.S. politics, they even appear in my morning soup. Each day a different thing. Feels endless and it's getting tiresome.
Politics is life. Ducking out is for twats.
Story 19. Zero consequences for pedophiles. It's trending in America and I don't like it. Story 20. People saying Una lived and the other words that need to be censored because someone might have a reaction to it.
I don't think anyone's doing this to avoid offending people. This happens out of fear that their content will get shadow banned for using certain words. They want to use the real words, but if they do, there's a good chance their content won't get pushed out to as many people and their message won't be heard. What's wild is that it has become so common online that it's embedded into our brains deeply enough for some people to say it in real-life situations where they don't need to censor themselves.
Story 21. Well, there was a word-chewing algorithm post right above this one. I watched one. What the fuck is this? Stupid algorithm. Story 22. I was going to say those awful barrel-legged jeans, but everyone else's more serious answers are much better. Story 23. The normalization of mental health terminology is a super good thing, so this isn't the worst, but a comorbidity of this phenomenon is absolutely worse. About 5 years ago or so, all the shittiest people I know started using mental health terminology in ways that were super not good for mental health discourse. I don't know if that's the same as toxic positivity or not, but just the idea of, oh no, the absolute worst person you know is now trying to use medical terms to justify their behavior definitely wasn't too great.
My sister is all over that shit, and she's trying to be a mental health social media influencer. She went to therapy a few times, and now she's using AI memes to help women. It's the fucking most pathetic thing I've seen. She's the living example of a hang-in-there baby poster. Sorry, not to hijack your post, but man, I get that.
Okay, so apparently I learned some new trigger words. Mental health social media influencer. Shakes fist at the cloud. Oh my god, that is the worst, haha. But yeah, it's weird because it's like, I feel a weird guilt about hating on it because while it sucks, it really is a reflection of mental health terms making it to the vernacular, which is typically a good sign that we're moving in the right direction. But oh my god, I don't know why it seems so perfect, but it makes sense that somebody who does this would also use artificial intelligence memes. Oh my god. P.S. Didn't hijack. If anything, you reaffirmed my existing bias. So thank you for truly embiggening the very spirit and heart of the internet.
Story 24. As an Asian myself, I see the cultural appropriation of Asian culture, like the trend of matcha or boba getting popular lately. I remember as a kid, everyone would make fun of me for my lunches or the snacks I would bring, and now everyone is hopping on the trend, saying it's the best thing ever before moving on. It's like they forgot this is the same thing they were shaming and making fun of us for just a few years ago, and now they're adopting it as the next big thing. I can't wait to see what else is taken from my culture and made into a trend. I'm not saying this is horrible in every way. It is great that Asian culture is becoming more widespread and popular, but it is aggravating to hear people say something is amazing when 3 years ago they would be making fun of me for it. Story 25. I mean, it's been a thing for at least the 30 years I've been on the planet, but it seems more accepted now, groupthink or pack mentality with everything. Story 26. Not really a trend, but that 67 slang is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, next to that skibbity toilet. Story 27. Fake alt-goth people who reduce the culture to a TikTok trend. Not even part of that community, but my ex was, and I can see how it's a nuisance.
The goth culture has lost its true meaning. I remember back in the day, goth was more than just cosmetics. Being a goth was the way you saw life and lived it, a bit similar to the punk movement. It was an anti-establishment movement. Now, goth is all plastic and fake, heavily linked to consumerism, which is totally the opposite of what it means to be a goth. There's still real goths out there, but it's oversaturated by that fake, plasticky modern goth.
I can't with people nowadays saying shit like, I followed you for your goth aesthetic. Why are you talking about politics? Oh boy.
Goth literally just means black clothes and black hair.
Story 28. Watching everyone agree it's a huge scandal, as long as no powerful names ever have to deal with consequences. Story 29. 6. 7. I am over here when it comes to this. Come on. Let it die, let it die, let it shrivel up and die. Story 30. Reaction GIFs in Reddit comment sections. And then, the dumbass who keep posting the same one even though it's already been posted. It's ruining Reddit at this point, for fuck's sake. Post a comment or fuck off back to 4chan already. Story 31. The worst trend. Romanticizing your 9 to 5 on TikTok. Wake up at 5 a.m., make matcha, journal, go to a soul-crushing corporate job, call it girlhood. Girl, that's not romanticizing, that's Stockholm Syndrome with a Stanley Cup. We're one step away from I love my exploitative boss edits. Hard pass. Story 32. AI. I've literally seen AI little girls used to promote not safe for work content and accounts. They're genuinely helping push accessibility for creeps. Story 33. The idea that your opinion trumps everything, and if someone disagrees, they're immature, homophobic, racist, ageist, a dick, and so on. We can disagree and still be nice. Damn. Who taught y'all that you're the most important person in the world? Story 34. The rampant and casual use of artificial intelligence. Not just for things like asking questions and letting it do all your homework, which is terrible. Some people make it do things like editing paragraphs without even checking. I'm all for using tools to help the process, except for generative artificial intelligence in creative spaces, but to blindly use it is very unsettling. Story 35. Self-censorship. Unalive doesn't make a motherfucker any less dead. We're walking ourselves into 1984 willingly. Story 36. People walking around, listening to their phones on full volume. Headphones and earbuds have been around for quite a while now. Story 37. People are talking about the Epstein files all the time. I go anywhere on Reddit and it's all I see. Yes, Epstein was a coward and a monster of a person. But it's hilarious how much it's talked about. Story 38. How fashionable it is to be angry and a bully online. Also, Laboobas are just a toy bubble because they don't seem grounded in any real story. It feels like pure hype. Story 39. I'm just a girl. As a woman, why would you ever say something so self-deprecating? Story 40. Anything generative AI. Let life take its course and let it die. You're giving companies photos of yourself. Story 41. Creating AI videos that look so real they fool non-tech-savvy people into believing they're genuine. For example, dancing cats, dogs, and so on. Story 42. I know it's right because I ChatGPT'd it. Jesus fucking Christ, we've stopped using our brains. Story 43. Getting on camera and embarrassing themselves for validation about the horrible decisions they make on a daily basis. Story 44. It has to be 67. It's absolutely terrible. Every child from 4 to 15 still says it. It's unfunny as fuck and was never funny. Same with the brain rot shit.
The kids absolutely lose their shit over 67. It's nuts.
Story 45. The autism is a different ability nonsense. As someone with autism and a mentally handicapped brother, I can assure you that autism is not a different ability. There are people who can't even speak because of their autism. How is that a different ability? Story 46. Let's Go is the worst because nobody's realizing it's a trend. Every asshole is shouting it out like they're the first person to think of it. Every other commercial or movie trailer is squeezing in a contrived "let's go" to prove their hipness, and nobody's saying anything. It's really weird to me, and I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. 10 years ago, there were dozens of ways to express your excitement. Now there is but one. Let's stop saying "let's go." Disclaimer. I don't mean people saying, "Hey, want to get dinner?" Sure, let's go. And not even an anticipatory "let's go." I specifically mean when something good happens, and every average Joe and their grandma get this fake angry look on their face and go, "Let's go. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go." Story 47. Immigration and customs enforcement killing people in our streets is a pretty shitty trend that Make America Great Again seems to love. Story 48. Thinking that impeding federal agents is right. The left has gone too far, masquerading as the righteous, when in fact they are the illogical and insane party. Story 49. People who think videos of terrified pregnant women being thrown into unmarked vans, to who the fuck knows where, are fucking hilarious. Story 50. Believing that immigrants, gay people, and other minorities are the cause of all your struggles, instead of the government, which is mismanaging everything, censoring and manipulating the media, and creating oligarchs to rule us instead of democracy. Story 51. Artificial intelligence everywhere. Rising fascism. The Epstein class largely getting away with it. Take your pick. Story 52. Phone companies with ridiculous camera designs or a ridiculous number of camera lenses. Story 53. Epstein and Diddy jokes, AI slop, and thinly veiled, red, blatant racism, especially on Instagram Reels. Story 54. This is minuscule compared to the very serious world issues right now, But I hate how many TikToks, Reels, and YouTube videos start with the big moment before showing the clip or video as a whole just to bait viewers into watching the entire thing. Again, it's a small problem in a big world, but it sure does grind my gears. Story 55. Blatant privacy violations in the name of protecting kids. For example, Face ID for services online. The rise of artificial intelligence and the corporate theft of jobs. Lack of the public holding politicians accountable for their actions the good old-fashioned way. Story 56. Shitty comedian podcasters who are only popular because they act like middle schoolers. Like that dork in the Budweiser commercials with Post Malone. The guy who gets to say that because his parents adopted one. Story 57. The class war thing is so spot on, it hurts. They have us out here fighting over 67 and Twitter aesthetics while the top 1% owns more than the entire middle class combined. We are basically arguing about the color of the drapes while the house is literally being sold out from under us. Story 58. The whole fill in the blank, it's so stupid, I can't breathe thing. For some reason, it fills me with murderous rage, and I hate it. Story 59. All of these fucking subscriptions. Everything is a subscription. Everything is an ad. You don't own anything anymore. Story 60. Shrinkflation. It's a way for corporations to reduce costs and keep inflation statistics low, so they can keep doing it. Shrinkflation is crushing the lower classes faster than inflation indicates. Story 61. Exploiting your children, especially the sick ones, for followers, views, and likes. Story 62. The worst trend right now is how social media and the news constantly shove things in our faces, and then everyone forgets about them the next day. A few days ago, Trump posted racist images of Michelle and Barack Obama, and now it's barely even talked about. There's always something new being pushed at us every single day, so nothing sticks. It feels intentional, like they overload us so we forget. Story 63. The Mar-a-Lago face started by the Kardashians. Between this and artificial intelligence, the world is consumed by fakery. There is no substance or authenticity left. Story 64. Knee-jerk reactions denouncing any nuanced opinions, no matter how mildly they deviate from a strict black and white narrative. Story 65. Sports gambling. I'm tired of the endless ads from these websites promoting sports gambling with happy-go-lucky winners and over-the-top excitement. It reminds me of the 90s when you had male and female supermodels smoking, making it look sexy to die a horrible death. Gambling is like death by 1,000 cuts as people get addicted to it. Story 66. Binary thought. We've lost nuance in society today, and almost every political issue is all nuance. But we are being trained to think in binary. It kills any productive debate or conversation. Story 67. Short videos where someone comes in at the end to talk about what just happened for like 30 seconds. Also, short videos with a split screen of someone reacting in real time to the video. Story 68. Artificial intelligence, erosion of liberal democracy, climate change, sports betting, and predictive markets. Story 69. Coming up with different words to infantilize something. I just read on Reddit's r/relationship advice subreddit about microcheating. Story 70. Parents who think that parents are always right and only they know what's best for their child. Story 71. The false narrative of social media addiction, designed to manufacture consent for us to not just install surveillance monitoring software on our own smartphones and other devices, but demand that this software be installed as part of the base operating system for the children. Story 72. So, I've been on my journey of self-improvement since I was 13. I realized early that my home life was toxic and preventing me from being my true self. I grew up in a very conservative, Make America Great Again home and was forced to attend church multiple times a week. It was your typical Southern Baptist upbringing. I struggled a lot with my sexuality and gender identity for years and years, but was never allowed to explore these feelings. Instead, I was told to reject them and bury them deep as you do. I was ashamed and full of self-hatred for something I could not control. So what if I like guys? So what if I'm more comfortable being seen as a woman? I didn't understand why it was such a big deal for so many people. Feels like such a nothing issue. Until one day, It all clicked, and I realized that at the heart of the Make America Great Again movement is just a bunch of traumatized and abused individuals who never learned how to cope with their struggles. So they chose to beat down on others to feel better about themselves, instead of trying to uplift each other and build community. My father is a troubled man. He grew up in the 1960s Bible Belt. He often told me how his community was full of racism, drug addiction, abuse, and neglect. He told me how his mother got married to a 30-year-old man while she was only 15. He said that was normal and accepted back in the day. He made this excuse for a lot of behaviors. It's like he was stuck in that mindset, like he couldn't allow himself to see the true evil behind it. My epiphany came to me during a conversation we had while discussing a past relationship I was grieving at the time. My father tells me he knew from the start that her family was bad news. I asked what he meant. I had actually struggled a lot with the differences between our family dynamics and their acceptance of others as opposed to mine. He asks me, who would let their son be gay? In reference to her brother. This started a back and forth argument about whether or not being gay is a choice. I was angry, holding back my own emotions since I had not come out yet at this point in my life. But then he says, we all struggle with the thoughts. What thoughts? I said. He stuttered for a moment before saying, homosexual thoughts. I immediately felt a drop in my stomach, and my world came crashing down. In that moment, I realized we are all victims of generational trauma. We all are wearing a mask to protect ourselves from feeling ostracized. The hate you hear is coming from a place of pain. This is no excuse, but it is a reason. The only way out is through, and sometimes that may send you on a journey of self-destruction. But we have to stay true to ourselves. Don't let the elite use your trauma and shame against you. Story 73. Anti-intellectualism seems to be at an all-time high, so anything that falls under that umbrella of ignorance. Story 74. I'm in my early 30s and caught myself believing a bunch of health stuff I'd seen on Instagram before suddenly realizing, oh my God, I'm doing the same thing my mom does by believing everything she sees on the news. Same shit, different outlet. Scary. Story 75. Asking questions that only focus on bonding over negative associations like what's the worst trend? What trope do you hate the most? What are you most worried about for the next 5 years? Etc. Story 76. Being a fan of a political party or idealizing politicians. We should be criticizing them and holding them accountable on both sides. I grew up in the 90s and we always thought people who were passionate about politics were a bad kind of weird. Story 77. Hating on transgender people for literally no reason and hurting objectively more cisgender people in the process. Story 78. Giving anyone under 16 a phone with unmonitored and unlimited internet access under the guise of my child must be able to contact me, and vice versa, at all times. At least sack up enough to admit what you're really doing is giving your kid a pacifier. Story 79. Society is shifting from no one can abuse children and no one can abuse the elderly to, well, just how much abuse was it? Maybe they misunderstood the abuse? Oh, you don't understand, it was just one time. Oh, he said sorry. Oh, it didn't mean to happen. Suddenly, the hard line we all agreed upon is no longer a hard line. Story 80. AI slop content farms. Entire websites, YouTube channels, and social media accounts running 100% AI-generated content with zero human oversight. Story 81. You'll really want to base your entire identity on a label or diagnosis, and it's terrifying. You have so much more depth than that. I read comments that start with as a blank all the time. Be Kayla, who likes fishing with her dad and who started hormone replacement therapy 7 years ago. Be Stan, who is a whiz at accounting and got married to their husband last summer. Be Jenna, who loves music and can't go outside when the sun shines because it makes them stim. Your labels don't make you. You make you.